been about a year, actually, since we checked in with the folks at Father Bill's Mainspring here in Quincy. So Pat Ronan is back with us to bring us up to date on what's been going on in the past 12 or so months. Pat, great to see you, first of all. Thanks for coming over.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Yeah, a year goes by fast.
Certainly.
And a lot going on for us and just, in Quincy and the world. So
right, exactly.
Thanks for bringing us in.
Sure. I thought a good time of year, too, with the holidays to address what your special needs at Father Bill's might be for this time of year.
Yeah, so I guess we're talking about the holidays. I want to quickly thank the community and all of our volunteers for a wonderful Thanksgiving. For the second straight year on Thanksgiving, we hosted our community dinner at our new Yawkey Housing Resource Center.
Right.
So between that dinner, our meal delivery, and our meal in Brockton, we provided about 1,800 meals.
Is that right?
Which is the highest that we've ever produced in one day. At the Yawkey HRC, we had a couple hundred meals to guests or anyone in the community who wanted, a meal or companionship on the holiday. It was a great day, very inspiring, as Thanksgiving always is. And then in Quincy, we delivered around 300. Let's see, it's 762 meals in Quincy.
Delivered to people's homes. Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
so about 380 of those were to the Quincy Housing Authority tenants. So that's something that we have really built up over the last few years is for those who can't make it to the community meal, we want to make sure that they do have that traditional Thanksgiving feast, which is catered, and turkey, all the sides, and we have all these volunteers who come, and we run a really cool operation where people come, pick up their box of meals, and then go out and deliver them. So it was a special day, and now we're moving on to the rest of the holiday season.
Right. How do you find these folks, Pat, that are in need of these meals and these services? How does that outreach work?
It's a good question because every community is really different.
Yeah.
In Quincy, we're fortunate to have a really nice partnership with the Quincy Housing Authority.
They know, yeah.
They know, and they put it out to their tenants.
Yes.
And anyone who's in need of a meal, they help us facilitate those deliveries. And I think this year, actually, it was a little more efficient where we just dropped off the meals and they sort of went the extra mile to kind of make sure that they were able to access it. So in Quincy, we have a great partnership with Quincy Housing Authority. Yeah. In some of the other communities, whether it's Hingham or Braintree, it's usually connected to our properties, whether we own the property or we're providing case management. We'll reach out to the participants and ask if they want a meal. And then others, it's just open requests. So we put it out to the community on our website, like anyone who needs a meal, you can fill out an online form. So every year we always get some requests from people we've never engaged with.
Is that right?
Who are in need of a meal.
Okay. Years ago, around Thanksgiving, Father Bill's would be doing outreach asking for turkeys. So how does it happen now? I know it's much more formal, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, so that was you look back at how things can change or how things did change during COVID. That was really one of the bigger changes for us was where we did accept a lot of donations of turkeys, and desserts. It was quite an effort to basically promote and then collect all of those items. When we went to primarily delivery and not in person during COVID, we decided to cater it because it was just more efficient.
Gotcha.
And so we feel like that's a good model.
Yeah.
And so instead, and people still drop off turkeys and pies.
Yeah.
The Boston Bruins Foundation, Colwell Banker, East Elementary School in Hingham, they all delivered a bunch of pies. So we definitely get an abundance of food donations.
Yeah.
But certainly we don't do the large call out for turkeys because the catering takes care of that.
Yeah, no, I understand. I thought you might want to mention some of the bigger donors that helped out, with the food deliveries and with the donations as well.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. We have a Thanksgiving fund that we raise between $15,000 and $20,000 every year.
That's great.
To fund
Just
the
for
catering.
that. Yeah.
So yeah, it never ceases to amaze us. Every year, people step up to make sure that no one in our community has to be alone or go hungry on Thanksgiving.
And there's an army of volunteers behind the scenes that are putting it all together and serving.
That's right, and
Yeah.
actually, like that whole Thanksgiving week is sort of a volunteer week for us because a lot of the delivery logistics have to happen beforehand.
Sure.
Putting together the boxes, just really organizing what we're going to do day of. So we have volunteers coming in that week, cutting pies that we have delivered. So we had some board members come the day before Thanksgiving and some other volunteers. And it's great because you kind of feel like you kind of have that inspiring feeling all week. And then, of course, the day of, we have, dozens of volunteers who come and help with the in-person meal.
Exactly,
Which is
yeah.
wonderful because we have the same families we've had for, it feels like over a decade, where these kids that I remember when I first started 8 years ago, seeing them, and they were little kids,
Right.
and now they're in, college.
Freshman in college or something, yeah.
And it's like, wow, that's so cool that that tradition is carried on, and also reminds you of how old we all get.
Well, there's that too.
Yeah.
So Christmas is next. What do you need for Christmas?
So we were very fortunate. We had some great community support, and we had our holiday shopping days at the Yawkey Housing Resource Center on Tuesday of this week. So what was it, December 17th, where we had items that our shelter guests could basically have the shopping experience with the decorations and the holiday music, and they may not be in a position to go out and pick up something for their loved ones. So we want to give them that opportunity so they can get into the holiday spirit.
Yeah.
Some people who have kids, they able to pick from a toy that
Nice.
they can wrap
Yep.
and provide to their loved ones over the holiday. And then generally from here on out, for the last home stretch, we really suggest that people who are interested in supporting us think about gift cards.
Sure.
And I know that
Yep.
isn't quite as exciting
Well,
sometimes.
Right. Well, but it is practical and convenient, and that can mean a lot too for somebody who needs the basics.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It provides flexibility. So if it's given to a family that might need a winter coat for
Exactly.
their child,
Right.
or they might need to go grocery shopping.
Yes. You can get the right size. You can get the right types of food.
Exactly.
And you can do it on your schedule.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we always ask for gift cards.
Okay.
Obviously, cash donations would
Sure.
help us out because, the holidays is really sort of entering the cold season, and our census is really spiked, both
it really?
at the Quincy Housing Resource Center and at our Brockton Mainspring House. We're seeing about 180 people per night in Quincy right now. It's about 40% higher than it was last year at this
Really?
time. Same trends in Brockton and at our seasonal shelter in Plymouth. So that those cash donations really go a long way to help us be able to expand our capacity and fill that funding gap, because we're funded for a certain amount of beds at each of these locations,
Right.
and we're always in overflow.
Yeah.
So we ask for cash donations, gift cards, and then for the guests, a lot of people ask, what should we bring? Right now, the big need is heavy gloves, winter gloves, and heavy winter socks.
Okay.
So it's common for people to do a sock drive or a glove drive, which is great. We'll accept them. But in terms of like the most pressing need as it gets cold, the heavy duty winter ones are the ones that ultimately are going to help keep people warm, or with some of our outreach, connecting with people who are deciding to sleep outside.
Okay. All right. So 180 at the Yawkey Resource Center. Is that at capacity? Is that 100%?
Yeah, so
It
we're
is, yeah.
funded for 125 beds.
Okay.
We have the capacity to bring everyone in.
Yes.
But what that means is in our dining room, we have 21 people per night who are on mats, overflow mats on the ground.
Still, huh? Even today. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then another additional 20 to 30 people who are basically sitting in a seat all night. It's called the warming center model.
Okay.
It allows us to bring everyone in so no one has to be outside.
Of course.
But to follow local code, and we can't fit that many mats in one room. So
understand.
what we do is we kind of split the room, and there will be overflow mats, and then the other side is the warming center where people have to stay seated for the night. We of course think that the long-term answer to that is more housing. And so that's why we're excited that at the Yawkey Housing Resource Center this past year, we were able to open the 30 permanent supportive housing
I
units.
was going to ask about that. Yeah, so they are open.
They are open.
Okay.
They're fully occupied,
Great.
and I sent over a couple photos of people moving in. It's really inspiring to see people move into their new space. It's brand new. It's a great studio efficiency apartment, and one of the tenants, the first thing he said when he moved in was, "I'm having my mom over tomorrow. She's going to help me decorate," and just to have a place where you can have your family visit you around the holidays and host them and have pride in where you live and feel stable in your life is what it's all about. So that's our goal, is to build more housing and to help people get permanently housed, as opposed to trying to fit more people inside of a shelter.
Right, exactly. You do have that capacity in an emergency, or it's called an emergency shelter, right?
Yep.
But ultimately, the solution is permanent housing. Yeah, I know that was the goal at the outset when you launched the Yawkey Housing Resource Center. It was open for 2 years now. You said, right? So.
November, it was the 1 year
November.
anniversary.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, wow, that was fast.
yeah, it was.
Are there plans for other permanent housing in Quincy or the surrounding areas?
Yes,
Yeah.
regionally we have sort of a goal to try to add about 120 units every year through new permanent housing. And we have plans to add some 32 units in Brockton within the next few months, and then another 24 in Stoughton. We're converting the old Stoughton Motel into permanent supportive housing. And so we have a few places identified where essentially, in order to keep up with the shelter demand, we've calculated that we're going to have to keep creating new permanent supportive housing to accommodate those who aren't the short-term stayers at the shelter, the people who might need a little bit of financial support and they're back on their feet in a few weeks.
Sure. Yeah.
It's the individuals who are chronically homeless, struggling with maybe a behavioral health issue. Our elder population has increased significantly over the past decade, so people who are retired and living off of fixed income and who may have a physical disability, it's going to be really hard for them to get into mainstream housing. So they are in shelter long term. We need to continue to create the permanent housing so they can, first of all, not be in the shelter, but also be able to live in retirement and comfort.
Yeah.
So that's, is there enough new housing? Of course not, but the whole state and the whole country is dealing with that crisis right now. But we're proud that we're able to at least try to build new units locally.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're doing the same thing in Brockton, right? A similar resource center there.
We are. The Smith Family Housing Resource Center is what it's called in Brockton. Will open by early March.
Okay.
So we'll be, cutting the ribbon on that in a ceremonial event next month. And the housing there is called Yawkey Hall, because the Yawkey Foundation is once again has generously decided to be a lead donor on that project.
It's amazing. Yeah.
So we're very excited. There's a big need in Plymouth County and in Brockton with the outdoor population and the unsheltered population to add more housing, because it'll be filled right away. Even the Yawkey Housing Resource Center in Quincy, the first few tenants who moved in, I was there on move-in day, I think a majority of them had been sleeping outside. For various reasons, they decide to not sleep in shelter, and those are the individuals who we try to get right into housing. And so that was the case with the Yawkey HRC.
Yes. Yeah. So it is working. I mean, the goal is happening. It's just slow, and it's just not enough. It sounds like.
Yeah. It's a really difficult crisis to come up with a quick solution.
Yeah.
But we're confident that the state certainly has prioritized it with the Affordable Homes Act.
True. Yeah.
The housing bond bill that puts aside a good amount of money for new affordable housing, but also permanent supportive housing, specifically for the population we serve. That's really encouraging. And some other, I think it's out there right now. It's no longer I'd say an issue that people aren't talking about. Everyone is talking about the affordable housing crisis.
Yeah.
Even people who aren't on the brink of homelessness, but if you're raising a family or you're a senior on fixed income just trying to downsize, everyone's having trouble finding a place that they can afford within their budget.
It's so true, yeah. But you said something key is it's supportive housing. So it's not just, here's your key, we're not going to bother with you anymore. You're dealing with any issues that they have. It's a daycare center now as well, right? So there are activities all day long. It's not just 7 o'clock, you're out the door, I'll see you again tonight. It's a completely different model.
It is,
Yeah.
and I thank you for mentioning that, because one of the things that, of course, the Resource Center has the overnight shelter,
Yeah.
and it has the new permanent supportive housing. Those are two things that we've done for a long time now. But the day center at the HRC is really the innovative new service delivery model
Yes.
that we're replicating in Brockton, and has really, what we're seeing is serving as not just a model for other communities in the state,
Really?
but nationally.
Is that right?
We've
Yeah.
had other cities in Massachusetts come take a tour. The city of Worcester, their health officials have
Wow.
come out multiple times. They're looking to pursue an HRC of their own. Amherst is pursuing a housing resource center to try to replicate our model. And then we had some municipal officials from Kansas. And we had phone calls with some reps from Indiana and Maryland who heard about the model and wanted to learn more. So it's exciting to be the first.
Yeah.
People learning a lot about what we do. And now that we've been there a year, we're going to start to kind of collect and show the data and how many
Yes.
people we're helping avoid homelessness.
Which is the key. It's
yeah.
catch it before it starts. Yeah.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
you mentioned the day center. So for those who don't know, we used to be funded just for overnight shelters.
Yes.
So you'd have to leave at 7 a.m. People would have to, they go work, but if they're not, then maybe they're at their library, they're in the city center. There'd be no place for people to go. Now we have
Right.
24/7 operation. We have programs that are based out of our HRC. We have workshops put on by Dove, by the Quincy Police. We have, education courses about employment, resume building, tech support. The city of Quincy has been great. John Kane, who does their IT,
Yes,
he's been teaching courses.
That's great.
Providing some technology for some of the guests
Yeah.
who have an interest in it. So it's really kind of building those life skills and addressing some of the barriers that may have helped contribute to the homelessness in the first place.
Instead of just treating the symptom, you're treating the cause. Right?
Exactly.
Simply said, you're getting to the root of why an individual is homeless or may become homeless, to turn that cycle around.
Very much in a way like the healthcare system,
Yes.
and there's so much overlap between housing and
Certainly.
health stability.
Yeah.
But when you go to the ER, sometimes the ER is unavoidable, and certainly emergency shelter is unavoidable for some, and we hope to always have that available.
Sure.
In a perfect world, we wouldn't
Need it, right? But in reality,
In reality, just like the ER is an emergency service.
you break a leg, you need to go to the ER, right? Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And thankfully you have a place to go, but really it's about those outpatient
Yes.
services, the preventative care.
Yeah.
That's really our day center, is really like, here are the things that can build in your life skills
Yeah.
and make you feel more confident to be able to enter housing and be stably housed.
Yeah. And speaking of healthcare, Mannett Community Health Center is right at the HRC, right?
That's right. Yep. They operate a full service clinic there. It's not just for guests or participants at the Resource Center, because anyone who's facing a housing crisis in our region can come to the Resource Center.
It's great to know. Yeah.
They can. We have showers. We have day lockers. So if you are going on a job interview and don't have a place to stay,
Yeah.
you don't want to bring everything you have to the interview. You can shower at the Resource Center. You can leave your bags in a locker, your
Yes.
medication if you have any, and then come get it at the end of the day. But yes, the health clinic. So anyone who's utilizing our services or just lives nearby who needs some of those services, they have a great team at Mannett. They do tremendous work. It's a great partnership. And I think we'll see, we're going to do the same thing in Brockton with Brockton Neighborhood Health Center.
Very good. Yeah.
That these community health centers, there's so many shared goals and priorities. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the state and across the country, that once we get healthcare organizations and housing providers together, we can cut costs on emergency care and also cut costs by getting people stably housed so they're not ricocheting in and out of the emergency services system, whether it's ambulance, detox, psychiatric
Yep.
institutions, like these places that end up costing the taxpayer a lot of money.
Yes.
It's more expensive in the long term to just keep doing that rather than stably housing them right away.
Absolutely, yeah. There have been a lot of changes on the board at Father Bill's in Mainspring over the past year.
Yeah, so with Quincy Connections,
Yeah.
actually. So Joyce Hogan, who's been a board member for about 30 years,
Wow.
Long before really most people at Father Bill's time with the agency, maybe except for John Yaswinski, our CEO. Joyce has been on the board, was great friends with Father Bill McCarthy, and has just been such a source of strength and hope and kindness for our mission, and has led us through a lot of changes, a big merger in 2007, as we adopted the Housing First model in 2004, and now more recently pursuing our Housing Resource Center model region-wide. Joyce has been there, and so she recently wrapped up her time on the board, so we want to thank her. Just with having Thanksgiving recently, one of my favorite memories from the year has always been Joyce's providing the opening blessing at Thanksgiving when we were at Christ Church.
Oh, yes.
And really always just an emotional moment for everybody, because she really puts it all in perspective of how lucky we are to have each other and to have a community when things aren't going so well.
Sure, absolutely. We wish her the best.
Yep, and I'm sure she'll still be around helping us out, and and still the legacy of Father Bill and Joyce Hogan's work certainly continues with someone like Pastor Alyssa Olson, who is from Quincy. It's I just want to make sure I'm getting the correct congregation. It's Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. She's been there since 2016. She just this past fall joined our board of directors.
Oh, very good.
So Pastor Alyssa has been supporting our mission for years now through her church and also through the Quincy Interfaith Network. She's just one of those people who just will call you up and say, what can I do to help? And everything from, mobilizing people to donate Christmas trees at our sites, or she helped lead a memorial service a couple years ago to honor our participants who had passed away. She and a group of volunteers have sponsored the Sheila McIntyre Veterans Home that we operate in Quincy, where they were able to furnish a room, do some volunteer opportunities with the tenants there. She's been such a champion for our mission and really for the underserved in our city and in our region. So we are very fortunate to have her now on our board of directors.
That's great. That's great. Speaking of folks passing, a couple of Quincy legends we should note, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the time of year where you reflect
Yeah.
on all the good things that happened over the course of the year, and obviously the things that the people you've lost. And our mission has certainly lost some real leaders. And the city of Quincy has lost some legends, really. George Burke, attorney, politician, basketball star George Burke,
Yes.
wore many hats. Maybe his most unknown role was philanthropist, and he was such an amazing champion for our mission. Over the course of the last couple decades, he's contributed over $100,000 to our mission. His family, they have become regular supporters. We were really sad when he passed early this year.
Right.
And then Congressman Bill Delahunt, another Quincy legend, and he was such a fighter for our mission, would always attend our ribbon cuttings, and really was an advocate for the most vulnerable. And at the level of government where nonprofits like Father Bill's don't always have the same clout or presence as some of the other interests that are vying for support. You need someone like Bill Delahunt, and you need philanthropists like George Burke, and you need local public officials. Like, I know it was 2023, but I'd be remiss not to mention Richard Mead, who was on the planning board, and during his tenure, he was so supportive of Father Bill's, the shelter, and the creation of new affordable housing by directing federal funds our way. So he passed away last year, and so it is a time where you look back and you reflect on the support you've received, and it inspires you to continue doing the good work because they believed in you for so long. And even when we're going through a tough time like Overflow Shelter, we know that we have a lot of support in the community. So we just want to continue that work and honor those people's legacy too. I mean, the timing with Frank Bellotti recently passing away, is such a progressive, before it was fashionable to be so progressive, and his family, Mike Bellotti, this is the time of year we usually hear from Mike, and who does a toy drive for us or
really?
donates some items. So, unfortunately, Quincy has lost some legends here the last year plus, and we're fortunate that we've received support from so many, including those who made their mark in Quincy.
Absolutely. I was just thinking as you were speaking about how different communities, different states are looking to you as a model, what Father Bill would have thought, about that. I'm sure, I can't imagine he would ever have envisioned it going, nationwide when he first started in the basement of St. John's Church.
Yeah, I mean, his goal was always to take the sign down at Father Bill's place. Yeah. So technically that has happened. Certainly we still operate a shelter, and I think that's what he meant in spirit, which was,
well, obviously, yeah,
we need to end the overnight shelter situation. But Father Bill, what's great about his legacy is that no matter how big of an organization Father Bill's as an agency grew over the years and expanded, and until he passed away, in the late 2000s, we had merged with the Brockton Coalition, and so we've become this regional organization. Father Bill was all about the local, direct person-to-person connection.
Correct.
Whether it was helping an individual who came to him directly who needed help, or soliciting for fundraising reasons. Like his person-to-person connections was a gift, and truly was an embodiment of what our mission is all about. So I think he'd be proud of the growth.
I agree, yeah.
But he'd be making sure, like we are, is to try to make sure that we're staying grassroots in spirit and in
too
practice.
Big for your britches, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Don't let too many QATV appearances get to your head. But John Yazwinski, our CEO, is he and all of our employees, they walk the walk. They fight for this mission because they believe in what we do. So that was Father Bill, and I think he'd be proud when we're hosting states, other officials from other states. But he'd also probably, during one of those tours with officials from Kansas, he would be just as likely to get pulled aside by one of our guests who wanted to talk to him about something, and that was Father Bill. So we try to keep that in mind.
Absolutely. How can folks learn more about Father Bill's, reach out, support? What's a good way for them to do that?
So our website, www.helpfbms.org. You can go to our holidays page, and you could just /holidays. It'll pretty much summarize all the ways you can help us this holiday season.
Excellent.
But in general, whether it's donating, you can find that on the website. Volunteering at our sites, we're in real need for meals, prepared meals, meal service, people who can volunteer on site here in Quincy and Brockton. So anyone who is part of a group, a church group, a civic group who they're trying to get active, we need the support.
Okay.
So check out our website. You can always, call the Housing Resource Center, and they'll direct you to our volunteer services team. And we have a need, and there's always a need. So if you reach out to us, we'll find a way for you to help us out.
Right. Social media, Pat? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
we have Facebook and X and Instagram and LinkedIn. So check us out there. We're always promoting our latest volunteer needs and fundraising needs, and a lot of the great stuff that's being done by our volunteers and supporters.
Excellent. All right. Anything else we should let folks know about right now?
I had a few things jotted down, but I think we somehow covered it all. I mean, we got the holidays, and I mean, really the thing was the census I wanted to highlight, which is, you know, the outdoor population is really, the unsheltered population is something that we've noticed in recent years has increased. Our point in time count in Quincy last year, there were 12 people outside in January. That's still smaller than Brockton and Plymouth. Quincy's always done a great job keeping that number low, but it's really been closer to like 2 or 3 people the last few years. So for it to be 12,
it's more than doubled.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And then regionally, we were up to like over 100, which is more than doubled in recent years.
Okay.
So we're seeing that across the state, seeing it across the country. This housing crisis is now sending people who, not just in cities and urban areas, but in the suburbs and in rural areas, outside in encampments. And you're seeing a lot of ordinances pop up that are trying to prohibit people from camping in public spaces, basically making it illegal to experience homelessness. So I only mention that so if people are watching and they may not have the resources to donate or volunteer, just their voice in the community, them sharing any of this information with their loved ones or their coworkers, just to let them know where things stand, and locally and statewide, is important. The more people understand the need and the severity of the housing crisis, I think the more likely we'll be to succeed at the public policy and budget level.
All right. We'll leave it there for now, Pat.
All right.
Thanks for coming over.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Happy holidays.
You too, Joe.
Thank you. And thanks for watching us here at AM Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano. See you next time.